Chapter 165. Right after she spoke, Bailey Hongzhuang turned to leave the rest area. Everyone was in a daze as they watched her leave. Wasn't this just too rude? Bailey Hongzhuang had directly rejected the two teachers' invitation without another word. Even her words sounded as if she was too lazy to deal with the two. Her identity seemed to change in front of everybody's eyes. Xianyuan Yutian's face was also a bit awkward. The royal hunting competition had already ended, so it wasn't exactly wrong for Bailey Hongzhuang to leave. But thinking reasonably, wasn't that just a terrible time to leave? Teacher Lu, Teacher Fu. Xianyuan Yutian slowly started to talk. With his identity as the country's monarch, he usually didn't need to be worried about other people's displeasure. But Azure Water School's identity was special. Its position was very deep-rooted, and its influence was enormous. Many powerful experts came from the school. Its only goal was to grow the cultivator's strength and never asked anything in return. However, every single cultivator was grateful to Azure Water School as their alma mater. If their alma mater were to meet with a mishap, they wouldn't just stand by and let it die. Some of the students who had turned into famous cultivators assisted Azure Water School and donated resources to them to return the favor. So even though Azure Water School seemed to just be an ordinary school, its identity was actually very complicated. The slightest move would affect everyone else. Even Xianyuan Yutian didn't want to offend them. After all, many of Fengbo country's cultivators were also studying there. What's more, Xianyuan Huan was also preparing to cultivate in Azure Water School. Everybody thought that Fu Hongbo and Lu Huayan would get angry after Bailey Hongzhuang's response, but the two's reactions were completely different from their expectations. They could only see them continuing to smile at Xianyuan Yutian. Congratulations, Emperor. It seems like there are many good seedlings in the younger generation. We have some business to do, so we'll take our leave first. Watching the two's reactions, Xianyuan Yutian knew that the two weren't angry at Bailey Hongzhuang, but were actually even more interested in her. He nodded his head. Since you two have something you need to do, I shall not detain you. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo nodded, at once leaving in Bailey Hongzhuang's direction. Damn, have I seen wrongly? Even after Bailey Hongzhuang refused to join Azure Water School, they are still rushing to ask her. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang's strength isn't bad, the two teachers shouldn't need to chase so desperately, right? In the end, what happened? I don't understand anything. Everybody looked at each other. Bailey Hongzhuang's response was strange, and the two teachers' reaction was even stranger. Could it be that she was straight up trying to get rid of them instead of doing business? Was it that the more Bailey Hongzhuang refused, the more Azure Water School wanted to invite her? Watching the two teachers hurriedly leave as if they were afraid of convincing Bailey Hongzhuang a second late, everybody was left speechless. There was no natural order of things. They had to stake their lives just to hope for a chance to enter Azure Water School, and still needed the teachers to give a nod of approval. But Bailey Hongzhuang was just simply an arrogant idler, and yet other people come running to her. The gap between them and her was just too big. Although all the chancellors seemed to be calm and collect, in their hearts, they were actually extremely shocked. This Bailey Hongzhuang may be able to even go against the heavens. With that, the royal family's hunting competition was over. Although Li Qingqian was very unhappy with Bailey Hongzhuang's performance, after seeing Bailey Zhentao's thick-skinned face turn dark, his heart became very delighted. Edited by Alex. Chapter 166. Right after she spoke, Bailey Hongzhuang turned to leave the rest area. Everyone was in a daze as they watched her leave. Wasn't this just too rude? Bailey Hongzhuang had directly rejected the two teachers' invitation without another word. Even her words sounded as if she was too lazy to deal with the two. Her identity seemed to change in front of everybody's eyes. Xianyuan Yutian's face was also a bit awkward. The royal hunting competition had already ended, so it wasn't exactly wrong for Bailey Hongzhuang to leave. But thinking reasonably, wasn't that just a terrible time to leave? Teacher Lu, Teacher Fu. Xianyuan Yutian slowly started to talk. With his identity as the country's monarch, he usually didn't need to be worried about other people's displeasure. But Azure Water School's identity was special. Its position was very deep-rooted, and its influence was enormous. Many powerful experts came from the school. Its only goal was to grow the cultivator's strength and never asked anything in return. However, every single cultivator was grateful to Azure Water School as their alma mater. If their alma mater were to meet with a mishap, they wouldn't just stand by and let it die. Some of the students who had turned into famous cultivators assisted Azure Water School and donated resources to them to return the favor. So even though Azure Water School seemed to just be an ordinary school, its identity was actually very complicated. The slightest move would affect everyone else. Even Xianyuan Yutian didn't want to offend them. After all, many of Fengbo country's cultivators were also studying there. What's more, Xianyuan Huan was also preparing to cultivate in Azure Water School. Everybody thought that Fu Hongbo and Lu Huayan would get angry after Bailey Hongzhuang's response, but the two's reactions were completely different from their expectations. They could only see them continuing to smile at Xianyuan Yutian. Congratulations, Emperor. It seems like there are many good seedlings in the younger generation. We have some business to do, so we'll take our leave first. Watching the two's reactions, Xianyuan Yutian knew that the two weren't angry at Bailey Hongzhuang, but were actually even more interested in her. He nodded his head. Since you two have something you need to do, I shall not detain you. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo nodded, at once leaving in Bailey Hongzhuang's direction. Damn, have I seen wrongly? Even after Bailey Hongzhuang refused to join Azure Water School, they are still rushing to ask her. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang's strength isn't bad, the two teachers shouldn't need to chase so desperately, right? In the end, what happened? I don't understand anything. Everybody looked at each other. Bailey Hongzhuang's response was strange, and the two teachers' reaction was even stranger. Could it be that she was straight up trying to get rid of them instead of doing business? Was it that the more Bailey Hongzhuang refused, the more Azure Water School wanted to invite her? Watching the two teachers hurriedly leave as if they were afraid of convincing Bailey Hongzhuang a second late, everybody was left speechless. There was no natural order of things. They had to stake their lives just to hope for a chance to enter Azure Water School, and still needed the teachers to give a nod of approval. But Bailey Hongzhuang was just simply an arrogant idler, and yet other people come running to her. The gap between them and her was just too big. Although all the chancellors seemed to be calm and collect, in their hearts, they were actually extremely shocked. This Bailey Hongzhuang may be able to even go against the heavens, With that, the royal family's hunting competition was over. Although Li Qingqian was very unhappy with Bailey Hongzhuang's performance, after seeing Bailey Zhentao's thick-skinned face turn dark, his heart became very delighted. Chapter 167. I don't think she refused the invitation because of Azure Water School, but because of us making the flock of hell wolves attack her. It's true that we didn't handle it very well. Fu Hongbo's face was calm. That girl isn't a petty person, and probably won't bother about that. From what they see of Bailey Hongzhuang's behavior towards Zhao Yinshi, if she was truly a petty-minded person, she wouldn't have let Zhao Yinshi off. Lu Huayan nodded slightly. This was also one of the points he admired about Bailey Hongzhuang. News about Bailey Hongzhuang receiving first place for the royal family's hunting competition swept through the imperial city like wind. The people who heard this news was completely stunned. This was a true dark horse who wins the competition. Before, some people had thought first place would be Xianyuan Huan, and other people thought that it'd belong to Bailey Yuyan. But nobody had ever thought Bailey Hongzhuang would get first. Although it was already known that the trash had gotten prettier, this time Bailey Hongzhuang had used her own strength to show everybody she wasn't trash. In the royal family's hunting competition, Bailey Hongzhuang completely washed off the title of trash. But before everybody could recover from their shock, another piece of news came, shocking everyone until they couldn't even open their mouths. Azure Water School personally issued an invitation letter, but Bailey Hongzhuang unexpectedly rejected it. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang declined, the two recruiting teachers actually didn't get the least bit angry. Instead, they went and continued to try and persuade Bailey Hongzhuang. What was called domineering? This was called domineering. All the cultivators were racking their brains for a chance to enter Azure Water School, but Bailey Hongzhuang was able to think over whether she wanted to go or not. With this, the gaps completely appeared. At this moment, Bailey Honghang had a headache. All over the city, everybody was talking about Bailey Hongzhuang. The Imperial City's #1 beauty, Fengbo Country's #1 physician, and Azure Water School's personally invited genius. The three titles condensed into a halo around one person. Her power was stunning. Hearing everyone talk, Li Huayan and Fu Hongbo gained a better understanding of Bailey Hongzhuang. The more they heard, the more they knew Bailey Hongzhuang truly wasn't simple. A 15-year-old girl who was always called trash her whole life, suddenly brilliantly blossomed, but was still able to stay calm and collected. Just this temperament alone was enough to make one feel fearful. Although they didn't know why Bailey Hongzhuang was always silently enduring it for so long, being capable of enduring 15 years of unwarranted abuse then suddenly gaining such power and accomplishments, one could only imagine how tough her heart was. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo looked at each other. They had still underestimated Bailey Hongzhuang. This Bailey Hongzhuang's future isn't simple. Fu Hongbo's face revealed deep emotion. Now he could finally understand how Bailey Hongzhuang was able to stay so calm and collected even while being trapped by a flock of hell wolves. Because, after living 15 years cursed and spat on, disdained despite being able to cultivate, her heart was unshakable. The strong ought to have their requirements, and she posses them all. Lu Huayan nodded slightly. We found an amazing girl. The two looked at each other, smiling. They were even more intent on recruiting Bailey Hongzhuang. From the steward's words, Bailey Hongzhuang learned a little bit about Azure Water School. Before she was always holed up in the general's household. She didn't even know the basics of cultivation, never mind Azure Water School. Azure Water School had already stood for more than a millennium. Its reputation was very good, and the majority of the cultivators capable of entering all saw a large growth in their strength. That was also why so many cultivators were all racking their heads over how they could join Azure Water School. Chapter 168. 1,000 years ago, Bailey Honghang would have known all the big and famous schools. Although cultivating in schools weren't like cultivating in an aristocratic family, it could still strongly boost a cultivator's power. After all, only after seeing other geniuses would one recognize their own weaknesses and arouse their fighting spirit. Otherwise, if you just stayed alone, your cultivation would inevitably stagnate. Master, this Azure Water School is a pretty good place to go. From the beginning, Bailey Hongzhuang had planned to learn through experience. Cultivating comfortably inside wasn't very good for her growth. She needed to find more rivals, letting her break through again and again past her limits. Joining Azure Water School, Bailey Hongzhuang could meet many amazing cultivators. The school's resources and practical experiences weren't lacking, and it seemed to be even more suitable than going alone. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly nodded her head. Azure Water School isn't bad, but that's not the reason I don't want to go. The next day. The sun shined as birds sang and fragrant flowers bloomed. Bailey Hongzhuang was cultivating in her room when a maid came in with news. Azure Water School's teachers had come. Hearing this information, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her brows. Without needing to think, she already knew it was the two from yesterday. Chen Palace's foyer. Bailey Hongzhuang had just arrived at the foyer to see Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo contentedly snacking on the refreshments, taking small sips of tea and occasionally saying a few words of praise. These two guys were truly too relaxed. Miss Bailey came. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, Lu Huayan's face revealed a smile. After a night of sleep, I wonder if you thought it over? Still the same. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. Fu Hongbo placed down the tea and stood up. The smile on his face slowly disappeared, replaced by a deep and serious expression. I know that you don't wish to join Azure Water School because of our test. We were truly wrong about that. The strength you displayed had attracted our attention, and so we only wanted to probe you out a little. So, we apologize to you. Fu Hongbo's eyes were earnest and sincere. As an elder, he didn't feel wrong apologizing to a junior. After all, if something like this happened to him, he would also be very unhappy. I hope you don't mind. Lu Huayan's lips rippled with a faint smile. They knew clearly that even though the girl was abused for more than 10 years, her self-esteem absolutely wasn't allowed to be trampled on. In Bailey Honghoung's eyes, their actions truly weren't the least bit respectful. The two's apologies were far beyond Bailey Hongzhuang's expectations. She had never thought that the two had come in the morning to apologize. As Azure Water School's teachers, they were the object of admiration by many. But now, they came to apologize to her. In this case, she was only unhappy that the other side wanted to test her. But she knew that to select the best, it was still quite normal. This was a world that followed the laws of the jungle. The rules were always written by the strong, and the weak could only watch. But watching the two apologize so seriously, a trace of warmth couldn't help but appear in her heart. An elegant smile bloomed on Bailey Hongzhuang's blossom-like lips. I would also like to apologize for my earlier behavior. Since Lu Huayan and Fu Hongbo already took a step back, she naturally couldn't continue to keep a grudge. Their manners even made her admire them a little. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Fu Hongbo and Lu Huayan immediately sat back in their original positions and continued to sample the refreshments. Girl, your home's refreshments really aren't bad. Seeing the two's attitudes change so fast and even immediately changing the topic, Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth twitched. It looked like it was impossible for these two guys to stay serious. A faint smile slowly emerged in her black eyes. She had already begun to get used to Fu Hongbo's personality. Since you think it's pretty good, I'll get the kitchen to prepare some more for you to take back. Bailey Hongzhuang said, indifferent. This girl truly knows how to talk. Fu Hongbo laughed brightly. In 1 month, Azure Water School will send an announcement. You mustn't arrive late. Lu Huayan urged. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her head slightly. I'll arrive on time. Since it's like this, we have to go now. You must work hard, we'll be waiting for you at Azure Water School. Fu Hongbo smiled. Okay. Right after Bailey Hongzhuang sent off the two teachers, she spotted Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunxi standing in front of the palace gates. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang come out, Xiao Zifan waved, Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrow. She actually didn't expect for Xiao Zifan to come here himself. The royal hunting competition just finished, so everybody should be recuperating in their homes. You guys are looking for me? Xiao Zifan nodded his head. Today Tianxiang Market is having an auction. I heard that there'll be lots of treasures inside, so Yinxi and I just happened to stop by and wanted to tell you. Are you interested? Auction? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes swam, a bright smile making its way onto her lips. I would also like to watch. For cultivators in Qingshui continent, in addition to shops, there were another way for them to find what they wanted, auctions. Auctions were all about cultivators. The items' value were often higher than the normal shop's items, but it was also far more expensive. Bailey Hongzhuang was also very interested in the competition. Perhaps, she could find some of the stuff she needed there. Right now, the thing she lacked most was a good weapon. Ordinary sword simply wouldn't do, that could clearly be seen with how the Hell Wolf King had snapped it with a single bite. The auction starts at 3:00. We'll meet directly in Tianxiang Market. Xiao Zifan smiled. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Now it was too early and the auction wouldn't begin for quite a while. First, she should go take a look at the beast egg. After learning about Azure Water School last night, she had actually completely forgotten about the beast egg. Thinking of it now, she too wanted to know what kind of spirit beast it was. Returning inside, Bailey Hongzhuang took out the demonic beast egg. It was only 20 centimeters tall, its whole body completely white. Complicated, abstruse patterns appeared around it. These were the seals binding its strength. Bailey Hongzhuang also knew a bit about spirit beasts, but seeing this demonic beast seal, she couldn't help but frown. After 1,000 years, the seal was very different from what she had remembered. Master, this seal is ordinary. Little Black spoke up. Little White nodded. I think that the demonic beast sealed inside is even more unordinary. I can sense its energy fluctuations. Little Black and Little White were also a kind of spirit beast, but they themselves didn't know what beasts they were. Unlike humanity, demonic beasts were hierarchical. If a low-level demonic beast encountered a high-level one, it would instinctively acknowledge allegiance. Although Little Black and Little White didn't know what kind of demonic beasts they were, they clearly weren't weak. Since it could even make Little White say it wasn't simple, it was clear that the demonic beast inside was absolutely extraordinary. Chapter 170, The royal family being able to put an ordinary spirit beast as the prize was already very costly, but they could actually still bear to give a powerful one? Her clear eyes were filled with surprise. Originally, she didn't have much hope with the spirit beast egg. After all, even if Phone Bow Country somehow managed to get a powerful spirit beast, there was no way that they'd give it to her. But now, it looked very different from what she'd expected. I don't think that the royal family knew how special this spirit beast egg was. This egg has a power that blocks the spirit beast's power fluctuations. Only we can sense them. Little White spoke up. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved, so basically, I got a big bargain. Although she still didn't know what kind of beast was inside, at the very least, Bailey Hongzhuang knew it definitely wasn't weak. Different spirit beasts had different strengths. Their potentials were different. If the spirit beast's rank was low, then even if the owner knew how to nurture it properly, its achievements would still be limited. That was because they didn't have very much potential. But if the spirit beast's rank was high, it'd have lots of room to grow, giving far more help to its master. Bailey Hongzhuang no longer hesitated. Directly taking a knife to cut her finger, she allowed a small drop of blood to drip on the spirit beast's shell. With the drop of blood, the patterns on the shell bloomed with golden light, shining in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. It was lucky that it was daytime. If it was night, the brilliant flashes of light would have long attracted other cultivators. The fine drop of blood quickly flowed over the patterns and continued to glide. Wherever it went, the seals dissipated. When the drop of blood finally stopped moving, all the seals had vanished. Blood oozed through the shell, blending into the space between the spirit beast's eyebrows. Ka-cha! Ka-cha! Cracking sounds came from the eggshell. Bailey Hongzhuang and the two fluff balls curiously peered inside the shell. They were all very curious about the spirit beast inside. The first thing that appeared was a furry, white paw. The tiny paw was extremely cute. Then, the eggshell was shattered and similarly furry head appeared in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. Master! A childish voice shouted at Bailey Hongzhuang, filled with dependence and curiosity. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips twitched as she looked at the thing that could only be described as a house pet in front of her. This is what you guys called a strong and powerful spirit beast? In front of her, there was only a white, furry body curiously looking around. As far as the eye could see, it was no different from a pet dog. Just a single glance was capable of snatching a woman's heart. But still, this was completely different from Bailey Hongzhuang's imagination. She had thought that a high-ranked spirit beast would have a mighty and domineering appearance, but in front of her was only a small, white dog. If everyone heard this, she was afraid that they'd die from laughing. Little Black and Little White's faces were also stunned as they looked at the white creature. This figure. It was also different from their imaginations. Ah! Little White finally moved closer in front of the white creature, carefully sizing up the spirit beast's appearance. It didn't know any demonic beasts that looked like this. Ah! Little Black pointed at its forehead. Master, look! King is written on its forehead. T/N, the Chinese character for king is Wang, so is written on its forehead, not the actual English letters /Chinese pinyin. Hearing that, Bailey Hongzhuang grabbed the spirit beast and looked at its forehead. Sure enough, a character was printed on there. Seeing the king character and then looking at the little white dog, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but find it very funny. What king? Puppy King. Bailey Hongzhuang was speechless. Pfft. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang call it a puppy king, Little Black and Little White couldn't help but laugh. This was just too funny. Master, maybe it's because this spirit beast is only a newborn, so the appearance was a little off. Maybe it's actually a tiger. Little White said. Bailey Hongzhuang examined the spirit beast, traces of doubt in her eyes. I hope so. It was hard to really understand anything about a demonic beast. The only thing you could think of was how utterly adorable it was. There was a chance that it would become an amazing spirit beast later. After all, both Little Black and Little White believed that its rank wasn't low. Do you guys know what kind of spirit beast this is? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. She saw many demonic beasts, but they were practically all adult beasts. She truly didn't know much about baby demonic beasts. Little Black and Little White looked at each other before shaking their heads. We don't know. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the spirit beast and asked, what kind of spirit beast are you? Ordinary spirit beasts weren't able to open their mouths to talk unless they were strong enough to change into their humanoid forms. However, if the spirit beast and master were very close, they could form a spirit link to communicate with spirit force. That way, they were at least able to have a tacit understanding of each other. The spirit beast shook its head, slowly speaking, don't know. Hearing its answer, Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't surprised. It was also very pitiful, being sealed immediately after birth. It didn't even know what kind of demonic beast it was. But that wasn't a problem. As long as it grew up, she would naturally know what it was. Later on, we'll all be one family. Bailey Hongzhuang petted the beast, smiling. Master, give this little guy a name. Little Black said laughingly. Bailey Hongzhuang thought deeply before finally speaking, we'll call you Baishir. T/N Baishir equals white lion. She believed that from the king character on its head, it shouldn't be weak. So, its name shouldn't be any weaker than its rank. After Bailey Hongzhuang chose the name Baishir, she found Little Black and Little White staring at her indignantly. Facing the two fluffballs' eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. Why are you guys looking at me like that? Master, why weren't you this good when you were giving us names? Little Black's eyes were filled with resentment. Such a terrible name was the biggest stain of its life. One look and you know we aren't truly loved. Just how many dogs have such a great name? Little White said angrily. In the primordial chaos ring, they had originally wished for their names to be resounded all over China. But thinking of their current names, they couldn't help but shed bitter tears. Little White, this name just sounded too weak. How could a world-famous demonic beast have such a name? It truly couldn't face it. Hearing Little Black and Little White's grievances, Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth twitched. These two guys were too serious, the names were only code names. But she clearly knew that the two fluffballs wouldn't listen to her. That's not it necessarily true. Right now, I'll give you two a super domineering combination name. Bailey Hongzhuang said smilingly. What new name? Little White and Little Black asked, eyes wide. Black and White Fiends. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrow. How is it? Isn't it very domineering? Little Black and Little White paused, before trying to act cool by rolling their eyes. It's a so-so. But their lips couldn't help but curve and reveal their true thoughts. That name really was powerful. Chapter 172. Bailey Hongzhuang instructed the servants to prepare food for Baishir. Spirit beasts always needed to eat lots of food, and after being sealed away so long without eating, Baishir was naturally very hungry. Seeing the food, Baishir excitedly rubbed across Bailey Hongzhuang's leg before rushing headforth into the food. But when everyone saw how much food Baishir was eating, their eyes were all filled with astonishment. Oh no, there's another glutton. Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth twitched. Little Black and Little White were already able to eat, but she never expected that Baishir could eat even more than those two. Just buying cultivation resources for herself was already like a bottomless pit. Now that she's also raising 3 prodigal songs, she really doesn't have enough money. Thinking of it, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but take out the demonic cores. These demonic cores are also pretty useful. Since there's an auction in the afternoon, it's better to take out a few pills to participate. While Bailey Honghang was thinking about what pills to bring for the auction, Baisher's twinkling eyes had already locked onto the demonic core in Bailey Hongzhuang's hands. Master, want. Baisher left its food to walk towards Bailey Hongzhuang, its voice like milk. Hearing its words, Bailey Hongzhuang raised the tip of her brow. You want the demonic core? Baisher nodded its head. Want. Bailey Honghang's face was doubtful. Although she didn't know what Baisher wanted to do with the demonic core, since it wants, it could have it. As she placed the demonic core in front of Baisher, the two fluffballs stared confusedly. This guy shouldn't be able to absorb it right away, should it? Little White asked questioningly. The demonic core was the same as a demonic beast's cultivational essence. After reaching a certain level of strength, a demonic beast could directly absorb a demonic core to increase their own strength. However, it wasn't easy. A demonic beast's energy was very violent. Only a very powerful demonic beast could easily absorb it. The demonic core Bailey Honghang got this time wasn't weak at all. Although Little Black and Little White could still absorb it, Baisher was still young and its body wasn't strong enough. I don't know, let's just look what happens. Little Black answered, even if Baisher could absorb it, it can't absorb a lot. Since Baisher took the initiative to ask for it, it shouldn't be a problem. After Baisher saw the core, its eyes lit up with even more excitement. It charged at the core. Ka-cha! A crisp sound echoed in the air. The demonic core was cracked. Baisher reached out with its soft, red tongue and licked the liquid out of the core, absorbing everything into its body. Soon after, it also chewed on the shell before swallowing it completely. After it was finished eating, Baisher licked its mouth before continuing to eat the rest of its food. Damn, no way. Little Black was stunned. What is this guy made of? How could it eat a whole demonic core? This shouldn't be right. Little White was completely bewildered. This was something they truly hadn't expected to see. Her ink-black eyes were like jade as they twinkled with light. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at its furry body, the corners of her mouth bursting forth with a bright and beautiful smile. Just watching Baisher's actions, she already knew that the little guy wasn't simple. The demonic core Baisher ate just now was one of the hell wolves. If a demonic beast's innate strength wasn't strong enough, they wouldn't be able to absorb the energy. How big was Baisher's potential? It was capable of eating the entire demonic core safely, which proved that its innate power was very strong. She believed that this time, she had truly picked up a treasure. Baisher wasn't an ordinary spirit beast at all. Chapter 173. Thinking up to here, Bailey Hongzhuang grew a bit happy. By just a little bit, it seemed that supporting this prodigal son was worth it. Time passed by in an instant and it was finally time for the auction. Bailey Hongzhuang packed her things and left for Tianxiang Trading Commerce. The passerbys' faces all turned excited when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang appear. Right now, the most famous person in all of Fengbo country was Chen Wangfei. Before, the three most popular geniuses were Shen Yuanhuan, Bailey Yuyan, and Li Yuyue, so everybody thought that whether if it was Bailey Yuyan or Li Yuyue, they'd all be a good match for Shen Yuanhuan. But the trash they had always disdained turned out to be the most shocking genius of them all. She proved to everybody with facts that this was true talent. Bailey Hongzhuang was the idol of many young cultivators. Bailey Hongzhuang had suffered from all kinds of humiliation, but now finally her bitterness had finished and sweetness begins. Since Bailey Hongzhuang could do it, how couldn't they? Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao Zifan immediately smiled and walked towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Hongzhuang, you came. Bailey Honghang nodded her head. You guys came here first. We had only just arrived. Xiao Zifan smiled brightly. Next month, I'll be taking Azure Water School's assessment, so my father allowed me to go to the auction to see if there's anything that suits me. Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly looked around, finding that many of the people here were rather young. The items that appeared in an auction was far better than the ones in the store. If they could find something that was suitable for them, that would definitely be best. At the same time, everybody else was also staring at Bailey Hongzhuang. Now, it was impossible not to pay Bailey Hongzhuang any attention. Today, Bailey Hongzhuang was wearing a simple white dress, clearly displaying her temperament. Her delicately flawless face seemed perfect from every angle. Just by standing there, she was already a memorable sight. Look, Bailey Hongzhuang came. I wonder if Bailey Hongzhuang ended up choosing whether to go to Azure Water School or not. Refusing such a good opportunity, her courage really isn't small. If I needed to comment, I'd have to say that Chen Wanye really does have the best taste in the entire imperial city, actually being able to bring home and marry such a good woman. If I had known earlier, I definitely would have long gone to the general's household and asked her hand in marriage. Everybody nodded along to his words. Bailey Hongzhuang's sudden rise was the only proof that the general's household had no eyes, losing the pearl. The royal family was the same, but nobody dared to say it aloud. This time, His Highness, the Crown Prince had truly suffered a loss. A man smiled. Today, I heard that something happened to Li Yue's face. Hearing those words come out, everyone curiously turned to look at him. What happened? Zhao Yunxi giggled as she turned to face Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Zifan. I heard that Li Yue's face somehow got covered in freckles. Now, she could probably change her name to be called Li Motzi. Li Motzi, Li is the surname, Motzi means pockmark. Xiao Zifan was startled. That can't be. How could her face suddenly have freckles on it with no cause or reason? Before, she was always running rampant, acting arrogantly like a peacock. Now she doesn't even dare to leave her room and reveal her face. It serves her right. I've always hated her attitude. Now I doubt that the crown prince will marry a woman covered in pockmarks. Zhao Yunxi laughed, pleased. She truly hated Li Yue's high and mighty attitude, swaggering around the city. Bailey Hongzhuang had a faint smile on her face and didn't speak. This is already His Highness's second engagement. If this one is cancelled as well, then, Xiao Zifan looked distracted. If this got out to the public, the crown prince would be reduced to a joke. If the engagement was cancelled again and they needed to find another woman to become the crown princess, then His Highness's marriages would be viewed as a funny tale for all of Fengbo country to hear. Thinking of this, everyone couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang, secretly sighing with regret. His Highness truly had no eyes. Not long after, Shen Yuanhuan arrived at Tianxiang Trading Commerce. But when he entered the hall, Shen Yuanhuan felt as if everyone was looking at him strangely. His normally proud and arrogant face was currently a little helpless. First, he wasn't able to get first in the hunting competition. Now, there was a problem with his fiancée. Before he came, he had overheard his parents discussing whether or not to once again cancel the engagement, making him feel very powerless. He really had no idea why he had such bad luck. Nothing was going in his favor. The originally loud crowd suddenly became quiet. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the auction hall. The bright lounge was enough to house hundreds of people with room to spare, arranged to display a quiet yet refined elegance. A single look could tell that the decor, although valuable, wasn't the least bit overwhelming. That was where the auction would be held. Wait a bit for me, I'm going to the treasure room. Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly spoke. Xiao Zifan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, surprised. You're going to sell something? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly and nodded, right. Although you can bring items to sell in the auction before it starts, selling it now, it would only be able to make the next auction. You can't catch the current one. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to look around. Bailey Hongzhuang still smiled. If they didn't accept the treasure, it'd be because it didn't have enough value. If it was worth enough, even if it was too late, they would still devise some way to let you sell it in the auction. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang enter the treasure room anyways, Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunxi glanced at each other before shrugging. Bailey Hongzhuang entered the treasure room and saw an elderly 60-something old man, his hand propping his chin as he slept. His head moved from time to time but never fell onto the desk. Senior. Bailey Hongzhuang called out. But the senior was clearly still sound asleep. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice wasn't enough to wake him. "Senior." Bailey Hongzhuang raised her voice, calling again. Thump. The old man was awoken by the noise, his chin knocking heavily on the table. "Aya." The old man rubbed his chin, panting with rage as he spoke. Who interrupted this old man's sleep? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. "Senior, I came to sell something." Chapter 175. A trace of shock flickered by the old man's eyes when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang. He rubbed his chin and sneered, "Such a pretty little girl. But even for a pretty little girl like you, disturbing an old man's sleep isn't appropriate." Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrow, her eyes crafty. From what she made out, the old man was very unhappy. "Senior, you were sleeping when you should have been working. Isn't that even more inappropriate?" The old man's face changed. Cough, cough. This old man only closed his eyes. "Why said I was sleeping? Didn't you just say I disturbed your sleep?" The old man looked around before directly ignoring Bailey Hongzhuang's words. "Little girl, what are you selling? I can examine it, but I'm afraid it's too late for it to make it into this auction." Hearing his words, Bailey Hongzhuang took out a white porcelain bottle from her space pouch. The old man looked at the white porcelain bottle, a trace of interest in his eyes. Usually, porcelain bottles held pills. Taking the bottle, the old man opened it, a strong medicinal smell permeating through the air. "This is a bone-cleansing pill?" The old man's face had a trace of astonishment. The bone-cleansing pill was a second-grade pill. It has the ability to cleanse the bone marrow. Everyone's bodies always had some impurities. The bone-cleansing pill would flush out all the impurities and as a result, make it easier to sense spirit power and speed cultivation. Although the bone-cleansing pill's rank wasn't very high, only a single pill master in all of Feng Bo country was able to refine it. So usually, a bone-cleansing pill was very rarely seen. Who knew how many cultivators were mad with envy when they heard that the second-place prize was a bone-cleansing pill? But how could this little girl have just taken out 3 bone-cleansing pills? He almost didn't even need to think. Just by bringing it to the auction, it had definitely become the finale, the star of the show. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. "Senior has good eyes." Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's reply, the old man's opinion of Bailey Hongzhuang changed a little. Pill masters were a special existence in Xingxian continent. The fact that she was able to bring out pills was proof that there was a pill master behind her. Since she was even able to bring out bone-cleansing pills, it meant that the pill master was a strong one. With this point, Bailey Hongzhuang's position in the old man's heart suddenly rose dramatically. Such a person must be treated well. "Little girl, what should I call you?" the old man asked. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. "My humble self is named Bailey Hongzhuang." Hearing the name Bailey Hongzhuang, the old man's face paused. So this beautiful little girl was actually the famous Bailey Hongzhuang. So it was actually Chen Wangfei. He smiled. "This old man is Su Hongyuan. You may call me Old Su." "Old Su." Bailey Hongzhuang cupped her hands in greeting. "Will my pills make today's auction?" Su Hongyuan nodded. "Of course it will. The 3 bone-cleansing pills are enough to become this auction's finale. Chen Wangfei can rest assured. It'll definitely be able to fetch a high price. This old man is the manager. The auction house won't take a single cent from this." Her limpid bright eyes filled with astonishment. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately waved. "That isn't right. What's ought to be given should be given." Su Hongyuan shook his head, smiling. "Just putting the 3 bone-cleansing pills in the auction is already enough to attract a large flock of people. At this point, it's already worth more than the fee. No matter what, I won't accept any commission." Chapter 176. Seeing Su Hongyuan so determined, Bailey Hongzhuang no longer refused. "Then I'll thank Old Su." She knew that the most important thing about an auction was the quality of its goods. Even though Tianxiang was the biggest auction house in the imperial city, it still has to compete with other auction houses. Auction houses compete by comparing the quality of the treasures. The guests would then choose to go to whichever one had the more valuable treasures. The 3 bone cleansing pills were enough to let Tianxiang win the auction, and also allowed old Su to form a good relationship with her. If Chen Wangfei has similar treasures, we hope that you'll choose to sell them with Tianxiang auction. Old Su said smilingly. Certainly. Leaving the treasure examination room, Bailey Honghang thought about Su Hongyuan's identity. The commission fee for the 3 bone cleansing pills wasn't small at all. An ordinary worker shouldn't have been able to do that. It seems that Su Hongyuan's position in Tianxiang wasn't small at all. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked back to Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yinshi. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang return, Zhao Yinshi asked, "How was it? You couldn't catch the auction?" These were the auction's rules. After all, the auction house always sends a brochure of all its items 2 days before the auction to the rich and powerful. How could it be so easy to more items in the auction? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. "I was lucky and made it just in time." Hearing her words, Zhao Yinshi and Xiao Zifan were shocked, staring at Bailey Hongzhuang in blank astonishment. They wondered if they misheard her. "It looks like you brought out something valuable." Xiao Zifan slowly started to understand what happened. Zhao Yinshi suddenly understood. So there was actually such a possibility. This time, she truly hadn't thought deeply enough. As the 3 talked, a premature voice interrupted their conversation. "Are you Bailey Hongzhuang?" Her sharp voice echoed with rudeness and disdain as if she didn't see anyone as her opponent. Bailey Hongzhuang raised an eyebrow. Did she know anyone with such an arrogant voice? Cocking her head, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the woman behind her. The woman seemed to be around 17. Her face was peerlessly beautiful, but the slight tilt of her chin revealed her arrogant nature. She was dressed in an ardent crimson dress, her body emitting a remote and aloof aura. Her style was very distinctive. But looking into her almond eyes filled with contempt, Bailey Hongzhuang already had no interest. "Dai Jiman!" Zhao Yinshi shouted, astonished. She didn't expect to see her here. Hearing Dai Jiman's name, Bailey Hongzhuang finally knew who the arrogant young woman in front of her was. Dai Jiman was the daughter of General Dai. Her appearance was outstanding with unsurpassed talent. Last year she had taken Azure Water School's assessment and successfully joined. Up until now, she had been cultivating inside Azure Water School. Nobody expected to see her at Tianxiang auction today. Fengbo country had a large number of generals, and 2 of them were especially famous. The first one was naturally Bailey Jintao, and the second was Dai Jiman's father, Dai Tianxiong, General Dai. Only, Bailey Hongzhuang never had any interactions with Dai Jiman. She had no idea why Dai Jiman was looking for her. Seeing how Bailey Hongzhuang still hadn't answered, Dai Jiman frowned and shouted again, "I asked you if you were Bailey Hongzhuang." Bailey Hongzhuang raised an eyebrow. "What?" When Dai Jiman came back, everyone was talking about Bailey Hongzhuang. She hadn't expected for a recruiting teacher to give Bailey Hongzhuang an invitation letter. An invitation letter from Azure Water School was a student's biggest honor. Everybody who got an invitation letter became one of Azure Water School's people. But, she never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang dared to refuse the teacher's invitation. What was this? Trash like Bailey Hongzhuang managing to attract a teacher's interest was already a godsend, but she actually dared to refuse. Just who did she think she was? Originally she had wanted to teach Bailey Hongzhuang a lesson, but hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent words, Dai Jiman actually didn't know what to say. "I heard that you refused the teacher's invitation." Dai Jiman looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with contempt. "Don't think just because you're a little strong now, that there's nobody better than you in the whole world." Listening to Dai Jiman speak, Bailey Hongzhuang knew right away that she was deliberately trying to find trouble with her. "Are you jealous?" Bailey Hongzhuang slowly asked. The 3 words seemed to hit Dai Jiman's sore spot, her beautiful face quickly turning red with anger. "Me? Jealous of you?" Dai Jiman forced herself to suppress the burning hot anger rising in her heart. "You're dreaming. What do you have that deserves my jealousy?" Since you aren't jealous, why are you saying so much nonsense? Bailey Hongzhuang's answer wasn't light. Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yinshi watched. They admired Bailey Hongzhuang from the bottom of their hearts. Dai Jimon obviously came to pick a fight. If it was somebody else, they would have long gone mad with anger handling Dai Jimon. But Bailey Hongzhuang truly had skill. Not only did she remain calm, but instead, even managed to make Dai Jimon choke with anger. They've already started to faintly sympathize with Dai Jimon. They knew that even before, Bailey Yuyen's tongue was nothing compared to Bailey Hongzhuang's. Dai Jimon took a deep breath. She just couldn't understand Bailey Hongzhuang's style of thinking. How could this scene and the scene she imagined be so different? You dare to say my words are nonsense? Dai Jimon's eyes were merciless. I really don't understand where your arrogance comes from. Why wouldn't I dare to say that to you? Who do you think you are? Her eyes, deep like a calm pond, flashed with cold light. Bailey Hongzhuang's chin raised a little, the corners of her mouth forming a mocking smile. She, Bailey Hongzhuang, never liked other people provoking her. But some people just seem to have nothing to do and deliberately tries to pick a fight with her. Just because she didn't speak, doesn't mean that she was so easily bullied. Not just any Tom, Dick, or Jerry could come up and bully her. First, they needed to see if they had the qualifications. Xiao Zifan and the crowd could all clearly feel Bailey Hongzhuang's aura change. In just a few moments, her previously calm and approachable air instantly changed cold and ruthless. Ha, if you think you're really all so great just because Azure Water School gave you a little attention, you trash, don't blame me for becoming your opponent. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's change, Dai Jimon was also furious. She was a student of the grand and magnificent Azure Water School. How could she dare to talk to her like that? Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. You called me trash, so I'll ask you, if I, trash, could get an invitation letter from Azure Water School, then what would you, who couldn't even get an invitation letter, be considered as? You court death. Dai Jimon finally reached her extreme. She reached for her waist, bringing out a long whip. Chapter 178. With her blazing whip, fiery clothes, and her rude, arrogant character, everything truly matched perfectly. Snap! The long whip struck the ground, causing a crisp sound to echo in the air. A crack appeared on the place the whip struck it, clearly displaying its power. I'll show you what I am. Her voice falling, Dai Jimon didn't hold anything back as she struck the whip mercilessly towards Bailey Hongzhuang's face. Seeing this scene, everybody's face changed. Nobody expected Dai Jimon to be so vicious, aiming directly for Bailey Hongzhuang's face. They didn't doubt that, if the whip was truly brandished against Bailey Hongzhuang, it would be impossible to avoid getting her flesh shredded. Her beautiful, exquisite face would be covered in hideous scars. The corners of Dai Jimon's mouth curved into a proud smile. Just wait until she destroyed Bailey Hongzhuang's face, then she'd like to see how Bailey Hongzhuang could be so arrogant. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed coldly. She and Dai Jimon didn't have any relationship between them whatsoever. But today, she just appeared and immediately wanted to destroy her face. If nobody offended her, she wouldn't offend them. If somebody offended her, she would pay them back 100 times the pain. The next moment, under everybody's shocked eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang faced the whip head first, neither dodging or hiding. Very soon, the whip would hit her face. Be careful. Xiao Zifan couldn't help but shout. Everything happened too suddenly. They never thought that Dai Jimon would actually directly attack, not caring about the sight. Before he could do anything, it was already too late. Drip! Drip! The sound of blood dripping onto the cold, hard floor echoed as everybody stared at the scene, almost forgetting to even breathe. Bailey Hongzhuang's left hand was grabbing Dai Jimon's long whip. Although blood dripped down her fingers, an enchanting smile still bloomed on her breathtakingly beautiful face. They didn't need to look to imagine how deep the wounds on Bailey Hongzhuang's hand must be. But looking at the smile still on her face, everybody could only feel something was off. Fun. Red lips gently opening, Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was filled with charm as if everything was just a joke. Dai Jimon swallowed as she looked at such a strange Bailey Hongzhuang. She didn't know why, but her heart actually had a sense of dread. She knew just how strong her whip was just now. But she simply didn't understand. How did Bailey Hongzhuang manage to grab her whip at full speed? Since you seem to like destroying other people's faces so much, why don't I give you a taste? Her eyes that were black like a calm pond was swept into a terrifying storm. Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly moved, her fingers covered in silver needles, slapping directly at Dai Jimon's face. Dai Jimon immediately understood what Bailey Hongzhuang meant and hurriedly tried to swing back her whip before once more striking it at Bailey Hongzhuang. But the whip was still in Bailey Hongzhuang's hands. She gripped even tighter, not giving Dai Jimon a chance to recover her whip. Paw! With a sound of a crisp slap accompanying a loud scream, everyone sucked in a cold breath. On Dai Jimon's haughty face was 5 fine bloody streaks. With the fresh blood continuously flowing down her face, it was both hideous and horrifying. Feeling the pain on her face, Dai Jimon subconsciously touched her face. Seeing her hands covered in blood, her face instantly turned pale. Ah! Dai Jimon screeched, "You dared to ruin my face." Chapter 179 You wanted to destroy mine, so why can't I ruin yours? Bailey Hongzhuang's face was indifferent. Even after dealing such a hand, her appearance was the same as ever. I never like to provoke others, but the next time somebody comes to find trouble with me, I won't be polite. Bailey Hongzhuang's face suddenly turned cold, traces of ice swirling in her eyes as her gaze swept over the crowd. Everybody's face changed. In that moment, they all knew that the trash known as Bailey Hongzhuang was only a thing in the past. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang had already made a name for herself, nobody took it to heart because their image of the trash, Bailey Hongzhuang, was still deeply rooted in their hearts. But in this moment, looking at her cold face, everybody knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was no longer a disgraced waste. She was a true talent. Whoever dares to provoke her must bear her wrath. A man wearing a forest green embroidered robe entered Tianxiang Auction's lobby. Seeing Dai Jimon's figure, he exposed a smile. But when the man saw her face, his complexion suddenly changed. "Jimon, what happened to you?" Seeing the man come, Dai Jimon seemed to finally found her backbone, immediately wailing, "Lu Gij, you must take revenge for me." Gij equals big brother Lu Jingkuan was also a student of Azure Water School and was in love with Dai Jimon. Since he heard Dai Jimon went back to the imperial city, he followed her and returned as well. Now seeing the beauty in distress, Lu Jingkuan naturally wouldn't shrink from his duty to protect the flower. "Who did this?" Lu Jingkuan roared angrily. "I did it." Bailey Hongzhuang slowly spoke, "You're here to avenge her." Lu Jingkuan was filled with anger, his hands reaching towards Bailey Hongzhuang. But when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang's face, he couldn't help but freeze. Goodness, what a beautiful woman. Until now, he had always thought that Dai Jimon was already very pretty. But compared to the woman in front of him, Dai Jimon was completely overshadowed. "You did this?" Lu Jingkuan asked, "What's your name?" "Bailey Hongzhuang." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed ruthlessly, "If you want to fight, then fight. I don't have that much spare time to waste with you." Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's tone, everybody was speechless. This Bailey Hongzhuang was truly insane. Lu Jingkuan's cultivation was at the middle stage of mysterious awe. Bailey Hongzhuang not only didn't back down, but even took the initiative to provoke him. "Lu Gij, what are you waiting for? Help me destroy her face." Dai Jimon urged him. "Oh. Okay." Lu Jingkuan's eyes flashed with hesitation. He didn't know if he should fight or not. Facing such a beauty, he didn't think any man would be able to act ruthlessly. Just as Lu Jingkuan was hesitating, Tianxiang's auction staff entered the lounge. The staff member looked at the scene in front of him. Before he had entered, he already heard the whole story. He never expected for Dai Jimon to appear in the auction house. They, Tianxiang Trading Commerce, covered all of Xingxian continent. Their strength naturally needn't be said. No matter who it was, they would all have to give Tianxiang Trading Commerce some face. Even if there was resentment, the guests would have to solve it after the auction. Otherwise, that wouldn't be giving them face. Over the last few years, so long as a cultivator even so much dared to release their spirit power, they would already be written and blacklisted by Tianxiang Trading Commerce. Nowadays, nobody even thought of making trouble at Tianxiang. When everyone saw Tianxiang auction staff appear, they knew in their hearts that the battle was finished. Dai Jimon and Bailey Hongzhuang were out of luck. Chapter 180. Although Tianxiang Trading Commerce was rather low-key nowadays, everybody knew that Tianxiang wasn't a good target to pick a fight with. Even the royal family would have to give Tianxiang a little face. Because even though the royal family had absolute control in Fengbo country, Tianxiang Trading Commerce spanned the entire Xingxian continent. By comparison, Tianxiang Trading Commerce's strength was far more astonishing. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang and Dai Jimon caused trouble in a Tianxiang auction house, it was very much possible for them to be blacklisted by Tianxiang. This wasn't a laughing matter. Many stores were under the banner of Tianxiang Trading Commerce. If cultivators wanted to buy cultivation-related things, they would have to buy it from Tianxiang. But if they were blacklisted, their choices would be too narrow. Miss Dai, Chenwang Fei, the auction is about to begin. I hope you two could give me some face and temporarily set your disputes aside, okay? Shopkeeper Su Xingchuan spoke out. His face was amiable and approachable, with not the slightest hint of anger. Bailey Hongzhuang held back the ice in her eyes and smiled. I'm truly sorry for interrupting Tianxiang Trading Commerce's auction. Hearing her words, Su Xingchuan glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang. In the twinkle of an eye, Bailey Hongzhuang was able to hold back her anger and completely change her expression smoothly with ease. Just with this point alone, he knew right away that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't simple. Not only that, but he also already knew that Dai Jimon provoked Bailey Hongzhuang first, but Bailey Hongzhuang still apologized. From that, he knew she was very open-minded. Chen Wangfei's too serious. We're truly honored to have you participate in our Tianxiang auction. Bailey Hongzhuang only smiled. In that instant, she knew Su Xianchun wasn't simple either. This man's cultivation was higher than every single one of the people in the lounge. That fact alone was enough to be admired. But, such a powerful man like Su Xianchun was no more than staff member at Tianxiang Auction House. It seemed that she had truly underestimated Tianxiang Trading Commerce. Dai Jimon didn't have such a good attitude. Bailey Hongzhuang ruined my looks. If you think that I'll let her go, you're dreaming. Hearing her words, Su Xianchun still smiled warmly. So then, does that mean you don't want to give us Tianxiang Trading Commerce any face? Following Su Xianchuan's words, everybody could clearly sense the air tense. Everyone wiped a cold sweat for Dai Jimon. This little girl truly didn't know her own strength. Although Dai Jimon didn't understand, Lu Jingkun understood what Su Xianchun really meant. Once Su Xianchun blacklisted them, all the shops under Tianxiang Trading Commerce would close their doors to them. At that time, it'd be too terrible to be described as bad. Shopkeeper Su, we were wrong and we apologize. Lu Jingkun spoke up. Seeing Lu Jingkun act like that, Dai Jimon grew even angrier. After being bullied so much, how could she still hold back? The word bullied wasn't in hers, Dai Jimon's dictionary. She knew of Tianxiang Trading Commerce's influence, but so what? She didn't think that because of such a small matter, Tianxiang Trading Commerce would dare to blacklist her. Lu Jingkun, if you don't kill Bailey Hongzhuang right now, we'll never be together. Dai Jimon's voice was filled with anger. Su Xingchuan frowned. Dai Jimon was truly too arrogant, actually refusing to give the Tianxiang Trading Company any face. Lu Jingkun was embarrassed. He used one hand to block Dai Jimon as he spoke. Shopkeeper Su, please be at ease. The conflict ends here. Hearing that, Su Xingchuan glanced at them coldly before nodding, good. After Su Xingchuan left, Lu Jingkun whispered in Dai Jimon's ear, Jimon, don't worry, I'll definitely help you get revenge. But first, wait for the auction to end, okay? After hearing his words, the originally fighting Dai Jimon suddenly quietened and nodded her head, fine. But when the moment comes, you must kill her. No problem. From Bailey Hongzhuang and Su Xingchuan's conversation, Lu Jingkun knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was married and clearly had no relation with him whatsoever. So, killing was just killing. Master, those two wanted to kill you after the auction ended. Little Black said angrily. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips twisted into a sneer, just let them try. That pair of cheating dogs. I'm angry just thinking about them. Little White despised them, Master, you don't need to kill them. I'll do it myself. When the time comes I will send them to hell. It was their fault that they could not see clearly. Little Black and Little White's eyes twinkled with excitement. The two's actions were truly unforgivable, Until now, Master had always kept herself quiet and low profile. This time they really bullied Master, so now they would make her pay the price in blood. Jimon, don't be too angry. We're Azure Water School's students. We can sit in first class, other people can only take second class. Lu Jingkun smiled. Tianxiang auction's seats were also carefully chosen and separate between first class, second class, and third class by status. First class seats were the most comfortable, and had a better view of the auction stage. Second place was slightly worse, and third was very crowded. Although anyone was allowed to participate in the competition, your seat was a symbol of your identity. True. Dai Jimon's face revealed a smile as she spoke. She glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang, those people who can only get second, I really wonder how they could be so arrogant. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was doubtful. She didn't know the difference between the classes. Xiao Zifen whispered into Bailey Hongzhuang's ear, we of the younger generation can only sit in second class, and the commoners sit in third. Only the rich and powerful had the right to sit in first class. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly nodded her head. She didn't really care all that much. So what if they have a first-class seat? It's nothing to be so proud of. Zhao Yunxi couldn't help but complain. Now she suddenly felt that Li Yuyue wasn't all that bad. Compared to Li Yuyue, that woman was even more arrogant. Dai Jimon's eyes shined as she raised her chin, you have to have skill. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't expect for Zhao Yunxi to actually suddenly help her speak. Just as she opened her mouth, a Tianxiang servant walked in front of them. Chen Wangfei, the shopkeeper would like to say that as an honored guest, a VIP viewing box has already been prepared for you and your two friends. Hearing those words, Dai Jimon's proud face immediately froze. What? What did he say? A VIP viewing box had already been prepared for Bailey Hongzhuang. What qualifications did Bailey Hongzhuang have? Lu Jingkun was also stunned. Even in all of Fengbo country, hardly anyone had the qualifications to get a VIP viewing box, so how could Bailey Hongzhuang? Bailey Hongzhuang was also somewhat doubtful. From Dai Jimon and Lu Jingkun's faces, she knew that this VIP viewing box was very rare. It was clearly even better than the first-class seats. Prepared for me. Why? Her monochrome eyes were filled with suspicion. She and Tianxiang trading commerce had no friendly relations. If it was only because of what happened earlier, it'd really be too far-fetched. The attendant's face smiled politely, softly explaining, Chen Wangye is our Tianxiang VIP. Since you are Chen Wangfei, you're naturally allowed to enter the VIP viewing box as well. Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly understood. She didn't expect that it was only because of Bei Chen. That guy. With his identity, he really did have the qualifications to become Tianxiang's VIP. After the attendant left, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips slowly raised, forming a smile elegant like a hibiscus. I only have a VIP box and can't have a first-class seat. Yep, I truly envy you guys. Dai Jimon and Lu Jingquan's faces turned somewhat ugly. Everybody was staring at them mockingly. Xianyuan Huan stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in astonishment. He really had no idea that Di Bei Chen, that trash, could actually be Tianxiang's VIP. Even if it was he relying on the royal family's identity to get a VIP viewing box, he still wouldn't be able to get one. So how could Di Bei Chen possibly have the ability to get one? The auction is about to begin. Let's go. Bailey Hongzhuang spoke, looking at Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yinshi. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Zhao Yinshi's eyes were filled with a pleasant surprise. Me? I can go too. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly and nodded, of course. Zhao Yinshi beamed. She had always been curious about what was inside the legendary VIP viewing box. She never thought that she would get a chance to see it today. The three no longer hesitated, directly leaving to the VIP viewing box. As the three left, everyone else also slowly headed to the auction hall. Dai Jimon looked in the direction Bailey Hongzhuang left, angrily stomping her foot. She wanted to use today to walk all over Bailey Hongzhuang, but didn't expect to lose face herself. The attendant led Bailey Hongzhuang and her group to the viewing box. The 4x4 box was on the second floor, overlooking the entire auction hall clearly. The box was very spacious and cozy. The seats were spongy and very comfortable to sit in. There was a table in the middle of the box, the highest quality tea and exquisite pastries already prepared and laid out. 3 catalogs of the auction's item also sat there for them to flip through. Sizing up the box, Zhao Yinshi's face was filled with astonishment. A VIP's treatment truly is different. Compared with the environment below, I don't know how many times better the box is. Last time she came to the auction, she could only have a second-class seat. Originally she had thought that the second-class seat already wasn't bad, but seeing inside the VIP viewing box, she could truly sense the disparity between the two. Xiao Zifan felt the same, nodding his head. The VIP viewing box is arranged beautifully, refined and elegant yet cozy and snug. Sitting below in the auction hall, it always felt a little too hot. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips rose into a smile. Tianxiang has very few VIPs, so this VIP box is naturally as perfect as possible. She had no choice but to concede. Tianxiang truly was worth its position on Xingxian continent. They really did have a mind for business. By distributing the classes so clearly, they could invoke the competitive spirits inside people's hearts so that they couldn't only be satisfied with their current status. It made people want an even higher one. Otherwise, Dai Jimon and Lu Jingquan wouldn't have been so satisfied with their first-class seats. Chapter 183. Dai Jimon took a seat. This was her first time participating in the Tianxiang auction with a first-class seat. At first, she was very excited. But when she thought about Bailey Hongzhuang in her VIP box, she felt a burst of anger. How could that woman be able to get a VIP box? At that time, as one of the Imperial City's cultivators who took Azure Water School's exam and passed, her future was limitless. This was her first time coming back, so she thought that she would become the center of attention. But no, everyone was talking about Bailey Hongzhuang instead. Asking around a little, she was astonished. How could Bailey Hongzhuang get Azure Water School's invitation letter? As Azure Water School's student, she was very clear just how significant an invitation letter was. But that only made her feel even more jealous. And the thing she couldn't stand the most was that Bailey Hongzhuang was actually married to Di Bei Chen. How could that be? Bailey Hongzhuang picked up the auction's catalog. Earlier, she'd never even got to take a look. So now, she just wanted to see if there was anything she wanted in the auction. At this moment, Zhao Yinshi inspected Bailey Hongzhuang's face and suddenly spoke. Bailey Hongzhuang, do you know why Dai Jimon was so intent on attacking you? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrow. Because I got Azure Water School's invitation letter? Zhao Yinshi nodded but then shook her head. That's only one reason. There's another reason for her hate. A touch of confusion fell into her eyes, black like a deep pond. Other than that, she didn't know why Dai Jimon would suddenly pick a fight with her. Xiao Zifen immediately thought about Zhao Yunxi's words, and his face immediately turned a bit helpless. What is it? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. In the past, Dai Jimon liked Bewitching. The words rang still. Bailey Hongzhuang widened her eyes in shock. She thought of many possibilities, but never believed that it'd be because of that. Bewitching, Dai Jimon actually liked Bewitching. Even though both of Chen Wanye's legs are crippled, many women inside the imperial city still admire Bewitching. After all, a man with such beauty and grace is truly rare in the world. Originally, the emperor had intended to betroth Dai Jimon to Chen Wanye, especially since everybody knew that she liked him. But in the end, Chen Wanye refused. Over the past 3 years, the emperor had been constantly finding marriage candidates for Chen Wanye, but Chen Wanye didn't agree once. Zhao Yunxi looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, her face somewhat strange, but then when Prime Minister Li proposed an idea to betroth you to Chen Wanye actually agreed. That was something almost nobody could believe. Until now, Chen Wanye always refused to get married, tactfully declining the emperor and paying no mind. But with Bailey Hongzhuang, Bewitching not only did agree but even dared to offend the general's household and made a big display of sending the betrothal gifts just to have the perfect wedding with Bailey Hongzhuang. From this, it was obvious that Bewitching truly loved Bailey Hongzhuang. Under such a big gap, how could Dai Jimon accept it? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes twinkled with astonishment. Seeing Xiao Zifen nod along, she knew that everything was true. It seems that she was disdained because of Bewitching's charm. Women in the imperial city just loved him too much. So it's like that. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. But, now at least there's proof that Chen Wanye really has great taste. Zhao Yunxi looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. At first, she couldn't understand why Bewitching ignored the other girls and chose trash instead. Chapter 184. But now she realized, amongst all the people in the imperial city, only Chen Wanye was able to see clearly. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and didn't speak. She hadn't known that Zhao Yunxi was always so attentive with Bewitching. Speaking of Bewitching, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes changed a little. She didn't know how he was doing now. Looking at the auction catalog in her hands, Bailey Hongzhuang that there were actually quite a few treasures. Weapons, medicinal ingredients, cultivation scripts, martial arts skills, etc. It had everything a cultivator needed. It seemed like this Tianxiang auction house had been preparing for quite some time. This time she had come to find a weapon for herself, but even after flipping through the catalog again and again, she still couldn't find anything that really suited her. She naturally didn't want ordinary, common weapons. If there wasn't anything right for her today, she'd just have to wait. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to give up, her eyes suddenly froze on the last page. It was a sword with a completely blue handle. Ice-chilling sword. The wind released from it alone was enough to make cuts. With incomparable sharpness, the blade itself was filled with a cold aura. The longer you fight, the more powerful its aura would be. It was actually a very good treasure. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a faint smile. It seems like she had finally found a decent weapon. While Bailey Hongzhuang was searching for a good weapon, Xiao Zifen and Zhao Yunxi were also flipping through the catalogs. Since they came here, they naturally hoped that the trip hadn't been made in vain. Soon, an old man in an embroidered black robe appeared on the stage. The old man's age seemed to be around 50, his eyes bright as he looked at the crowd below him, a smile on his face. I thank everyone for making time out of their busy days to attend Tianxiang Auction House's auction. I am the auction master, Su Jin. Everyone turned to face Su Jin. Now that he, the auction master, appeared, the auction was definitely going to start soon. I won't say too much. Surely nobody likes trivial words, so we'll be directly starting the auction now. A burst of applause sounded from the audience. This old man's quick and straightforward opening speech gained everybody's favor. The old man raised his left hand and a woman in a red dress slowly walked onto the auction stage, carefully setting down a tray. The woman's figure was very good, with beautiful curves in all the right places. The way she walked looked even more charming, attracting everybody's attention. Even after the woman left the stage, many men still stared in her direction. This is the first product of today's auction, Imbrued Blood Blade. The old man lifted the red silk, allowing everyone to see the Imbrued Blood Blade. Imbrued Blood Blade, a sword dyed with blood. It's a great option for raids and assassinations, or for practical self-defense. Not only that, but it's extremely light, making it extremely convenient to carry around and hard to discover. It's a pretty good sword to choose. The old man raised the Imbrued Blood Blade, allowing the guests to see it more clearly. Only a sliver of scarlet could be seen from its silver-white surface. The name and sword truly complemented each other. Sitting inside the VIP box, Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao Zifan, and Zhao Yunxi were all able to clearly see the sword. Tianxiang's VIP box seemed to have some magical way of magnifying the object, so even though they were quite far away from the stage, they could still easily see the Imbued Blood Blade. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the Imbued Blood Blade. It was indeed a good weapon. It was only the first item, but the quality was already so good. That alone showed Tianxiang auction standard. Chapter 185, Imbued Blood Blade. Bidding starts at 4,000 gold coins, and every increase in bid must not be less than 1,000 gold coins. The auction starts now. Just as Su Jin's voice fell, shouts began to echo in the hall, raising the price higher and higher. 5,000 gold coins. 6,000 gold coins. As soon as one shouted, another person would bid even higher. The scene was very lively. 9,000 gold coins. 10,000 gold coins. In such a short time, the Imbued Blood Blade's price was already raised to 10,000. But after every call, some of the buyers would no longer bid. For an auction, the price of an Imbued Blood Sword already wasn't bad. 11,000 gold coins. Another one shouted. Su Jin's face revealed a smile. A guest bidded 11,000 gold coins, 11,000 gold coins. Would anyone like to bid higher? Just after Su Jin asked, another voice called out, 12,000 gold coins. 12,000 gold coins. Anyone higher? Everybody fell silent. The price of the Imbued Blood Sword in the auction was already very high. In the audience, the owner of the Imbued Blood Blade smiled as he saw everyone bid for the sword. Compared to just selling it at the shop, selling it here was far more profitable. 12,000 gold coins, sold. Su Jin raised the small hammer and hit the gong. The loud, heavy sound of the hammer echoed clearly in everybody's ears, declaring the end of the first auction item. Congratulations to the new owner of this Imbued Blood Sword. Tianxiang Auctions people took the lead to start clapping, followed by applause from the audience. At Su Jin's right-hand side, the bewitching figure of the woman dressed in red once again walked to the stage. She took the tray and walked in front of the guest, handing him the Imbued Blood Sword. Under everybody's applause and the beauty's smile, the man accepted the Imbued Blood Sword, grinning. It's no wonder Tianxiang Auction's so amazing. It's already clear from the first item. Little White sighed. Their grasp and knowledge of how humans thought were truly outstanding. Bailey Hongzhuang faintly nodded. Tianxiang trading commerce methods are truly indescribable. The Imbued Blood Blade was no way worth 12,000 gold coins, but because it was from Tianxiang Auction, they would be happy even if they paid a little more. She was convinced that the next time the man wanted to join an auction, he would definitely choose Tianxiang's. After the first item, different products kept on getting called and brought up, but Bailey Hongzhuang's group still hadn't bid once. The next one is called Mysterious Star Sword. Su Jin teared open the red silk, a silver sword appearing in front of everybody. The sword cuts iron like clay. The wind from this alone can make cuts, truly an excellent weapon. You mustn't miss this brilliant opportunity. Xiao Zifan, who had up until now been quietly watching the auction, suddenly got up, staring intently at the mysterious star sword. Seeing Xiao Zifan change, Bailey Hongzhuang asked, "You like the mysterious star sword?" Xiao Zifan smiled and nodded. This mysterious star sword is pretty good. I'm leaving for Azure Water School's assessment soon, so I want to at least find a nice weapon for myself. Go for it. Get that weapon. Zhao Yinshi smiled. Mysterious star sword, bidding starts at 30,000 gold coins. Each increasement mustn't be less than 1,000 gold coins. Start the auction. 31,000 gold coins. 32,000 gold coins. The second-class guests had already started making their bids, and the third-class guests could only shake their head and watch. Chapter 186. The auction's price had already gone far above their limit. Even on the journey of cultivation, it was impossible without enough money. 40,000 gold coins. The price was called very quickly. In such a short time, Mysterious Star Sword had already gone above the 50,000 mark. After 50,000 gold coins, not many cultivators would continue to bid. 51,000 gold coins. Xiao Zifan began to bid. He knew that if he quoted a price at the beginning, it'd be impossible to get the sword. It would be better to bid after there were less competitors. Dai Jimon was somewhat bored as she sat in the first-class seats. But when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang's auction box make a bid, her eyes suddenly turned bright. A sinister smile made its way onto her face. I'll let you pay part of the price, daring to offend me. 52,000 gold coins. Dai Jimon's voice echoed in the auction hall. Hearing this voice, Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. Dai Jimon fights with a whip, not a sword. Clearly, she was doing this on purpose. 53,000 gold coins. Xiao Zifan shouted again. 54,000 gold coins. Dai Jimon immediately yelled afterward. No matter what price Xiao Zifan called, Dai Jimon would always quote the price added with another 1,000 gold coins. Even though she and Xiao Zifan never had any conflicts, since he was in Bailey Hongzhuang's group, he's also a target. Seeing Dai Jimon so relentless, Xiao Zifan started to get a bit angry. The other competitors had long given up. If it wasn't for Dai Jimon, the mysterious star sword would have long been his. 60,000 gold coins. Xiao Zifan added on 5,000 gold coins at once. His irritation was clear to see. Seeing Xiao Zifan get angry, Dai Jimon's smile widened. 61,000 gold coins. Everybody watched as Dai Jimon and Xiao Zifan competed. Dai Jimon was clearly raising the price on purpose. Dai Zhirong and Bailey Hongzhuang's earlier fight was so eye-catching that it was impossible for nobody there to know. But Dai Jimon's hateful way of raising the price like that was just truly too disgusting. The one thing everybody hated most when bidding in an auction was meeting a person like that. The money would be wasted for no good reason. And it wasn't even any of their money being extorted. It was truly too dirty. Su Jin was also paying attention to the little bidding war. As the auctioneer, it was his job to get the product's value up as high as possible. So, the scene in front of him was very much to his liking. No matter whose hand the mysterious star sword made it into, they would still make a huge profit. 70,000 gold coins. Xiao Zifan bid it again, gnashing his teeth in frustration and anger. 71,000 gold coins. Dai Jimon still smiled, but her heart was a little surprised. It was already amazing that the sword could go above 50,000 gold coins, but he continued to bid even as she kept raising the price. From this, it was obvious that Xiao Zifan liked the sword very much. When Xiao Zifan heard Dai Jimon call out 71,000 gold coins, his whole body fell soft. Today he had only come with 70,000 gold coins. He had thought that was all he needed to find a good weapon, but he hadn't expected Dai Jimon to wreck everything. Not bidding? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Xiao Zifan shook his head helplessly. I don't have enough. Zhao Yinshi's face was red with anger. This Dai Jimon is truly too much. Shameless. No gentleman would take away another's beloved. Dai Jimon was simply too despicable. Dai Jimon waited for Xiao Zifan to bid again, but she was alarmed to find that even after a long time, there was no sound. Her face couldn't help but change. Xiao Zifen didn't give up, right? She didn't need the mysterious star sword. If she bid it for the thing and then didn't want it, it'd be tantamount to breaking the auction house's rules. That wasn't what she wanted to see. 71,000, calling once. 71,000, calling twice. Everyone's face couldn't help but turn a little mocking. They all knew Xiao Zifen was the only one that really wanted the mysterious star sword. So if the sword fell into Dai Jimon's hands, she wouldn't even have enough tears to cry with because of her greed. 71,000, calling thrice. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly opened her mouth. 72,000 gold coins. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's shout, Dai Jimon felt herself relax. Fortunately, she no longer had to buy the weapon. She was still a bit scared just looking at the sword. Her face was rather unsightly. This, Xiao Zifen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, astonished. Although, that was 72,000 gold coins. Bailey Hongzhuang faintly smiled. Dai Jimon targeted you because of me. Since you were just dragged into it, I'll gift the mysterious star sword to you. If it wasn't for her, Xiao Zifen wouldn't have had any problems getting the sword himself. He wouldn't have had to suffer despite being completely innocent. She truly felt regretful for that. How can that do? Xiao Zifen immediately refused. This weapon is mine, so how could I let you pay? It doesn't matter. We're friends, it's normal for friends to send gifts to each other. No. Xiao Zifen firmly shook his head. First you'll lend me 2,000 gold coins, and I'll pay you back once I get home. Watching Xiao Zifen relentlessly refuse, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but laugh a little. So be it. Since you're so determined, how about you pay the original price of the sword, 50,000 gold coins. The rest, I will. Xiao Zifen was startled and opened his mouth to speak. Before he could say something, Bailey Hongzhuang hurriedly spoke first. If you refuse, I will feel very regretful. Hearing her words, Xiao Zifen could only nod. Then thank you. That's what you should have said from the beginning. Thank you. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled, but a layer of frost tinted her eyes. Dai Jimon was always finding some way to attack her. Now, she's even targeting her friends. As soon as the auction's finished, she must make her pay the price. The auction still continued. From beginning to end, Dai Jimon and Lu Jingkun hadn't tried to buy a thing. Just now, they forced Xiao Zifen to pay an extra 32,000. How could Bailey Hongzhuang not be waiting for a chance to get revenge? No way will they be giving Bailey Hongzhuang a chance for revenge. The next item of the auction is actually for a woman. Soaring snake skin, the best in its category for defense. Wearing it will definitely save your life one day. As a cultivator, we often encounter life and death situations. This premium snakeskin is the first choice. Everyone, there's no need to hesitate. The starting price is 40,000 gold coins. Bidding starts now. Zhao Yinshi froze as she stared at the red, colorful leather. She really wanted it. 50,000 gold coins. Zhao Yinshi shouted. Hearing Zhao Yinshi's bid, the audience fell quiet with astonishment. By raising the price by 10,000 gold coins, it was obvious how much she wanted it. Dai Jimon smiled once again. That was Zhao Yinshi's voice. 51,000 gold coins. Dai Jimon called. Chapter 188. When everyone heard Dai Jimon bid again, they all immediately gave up on the snakeskin. With that troublemaker, other than being a foolish spendthrift, there was no way they could get the snakeskin armor. The situation Zhao Yinshi feared most happened right before her eyes. Dai Jimon was doing it again. 65,000 gold coins. Zhao Yinshi called. 66,000 gold coins. Dai Jimon smiled proudly. Bullying people felt so good. Seeing Dai Jimon act so indifferently, Zhao Yinxian became so angry that her face flushed red. Angry, she suddenly shouted, Daijimon, you are acting overboard. Daijimon did not think Zhao Yunqian would suddenly call out her name. But she did not mind as her smile became increasingly pleased. I'm just bidding, what right do you have to stop me from bidding? You purposely causing havoc, anyone can clearly see it. So what? What can you do about it? Daijimon continued to smile, it's just Zhao Yunqian, she can bully her as much as she likes. At this time a cold voice sounded from the box, a person without principles is invincible, you have really brought this phrase to the point of perfection. After that one line, Daijimon's expression changed as she no longer had a gleeful smile. Everyone was stunned. The phrase, a person without principles is invincible, this was the first time they had heard of such a saying, but it made a lot of sense. The previous actions of Daijimon were perfected interpreted by that single phrase. You dare call me unprincipled? Daijimon stood up and glared at the box above. The corners of Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved up as she replied, some people were born shameless, so why do I have to give them any face? Bailey Hongzhuang, you are courting death. Daijimon was furious, every word this Bailey Hongzhuang was simply just face-smacking. Cohesiveness flashed in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, her gaze was as sharp as a knife, it seems that the punishment I gave you before was not enough. If you have the guts, say one more line. I will make you regret that you were born to this world. As the cold, chilling voice sounded, with a domineering arrogance in her tone of voice, a breathtaking aura erupted. It was no longer a threat but a final ultimatum. Everyone's face changed, they had never seen this side of Bailey Hongzhuang. From her speech, everyone felt a powerful pressure upon them. The feeling was like a final verdict from a master. It was usual for anyone to think of this opinion to be comical, as although Bailey Hongzhuang was talented, but Daijimon had already studied at Azure Water School for a year. So in comparison, out of the two, Daijimon is stronger than Bailey Hongzhuang by a tier, so how could she take Daijimon's life? So in this situation, from Bailey Hongzhuang's cold tone, who did not think that she was being overconfident? Daijimon looked distracted, in that short moment, she was overwhelmed by Bailey Hongzhuang's aura. Bailey Hongzhuang, who do you think you are? Daijimon sneered, just because you have some talent, doesn't mean you can act lawlessly. If I wanted to take care of you, I have many methods to choose from. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled as she replied back, Daijimon, tomorrow at Wu time, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., life or death battle, do you dare to fight? In the continent of Xingxian, conflicts between practitioners were common. And when the conflict got too big to resolve through words, some practitioners decided to duke it out with a life or death battle. When they agreed to a life or death battle, they were fated to either win or die. No matter who died, the other party was not held responsible. Although a life or death battle was well known, but in the younger generations of the imperial city, it has never occurred. Chapter 189. After all, their family backgrounds weren't bad. Even if there were conflicts, people could use any other possible method to deal with it. Nobody would choose to pay the price with their life. When Bailey Hongzhuang mentioned a life and death battle, everyone couldn't help but gasp. Life and death battle? Bailey Hongzhuang actually wants a life and death battle? It looks like Bailey Hongzhuang isn't just arrogant. A life and death battle isn't a joke, ah. This is Daijimon's third time provoking Bailey Hongzhuang, so it's no wonder that she'd be mad. But her challenge really was unexpected. Daijimon also didn't expect for Bailey Hongzhuang to suddenly request a life and death duel and was a bit surprised. But after, her lips curled into a small sneer. Originally she was going to kill Bailey Hongzhuang after the auction, but since Bailey Hongzhuang was courting death herself, she'll send Bailey Hongzhuang to hell. She knew that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was in the early stage of Mysterious Ian, but her own strength had already reached the intermediate stage. Tomorrow she would let Bailey Hongzhuang see the difference between Mysterious Ian's early stage and intermediate stage. Fine. Daijimon's voice was still proud, Bailey Hongzhuang, at that time, I'll let you beg for mercy. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled coldly, tomorrow, you will die. Humph. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang refusing to concede, Daijimon coldly snorted. Today she would let Bailey Hongzhuang be as arrogant as she wanted. Tomorrow, she would destroy Bailey Hongzhuang's face in front of everyone. Face meaning prestige, reputation, etc., not literally her face as in looks. Shen Yuanhuan watched Bailey Hongzhuang and Daijimon argue in astonishment. He never thought that after meeting each other for the first time, it had already turned into a duel between life and death. Right now, Bailey Hongzhuang was truly different from her original self. Zhao Yunxi's eyes were huge, even forgetting to close her mouth. Earlier she simply couldn't put up with Daijimon's conducts and deeds and got up to argue with Daijimon. She never thought it'd get this serious. Bailey Hongzhuang, I only spoke because I got a bit angry. How could you request for a life and death duel? If by any chance you lose, won't you? Won't. Zhao Yunqi said anxiously. Seeing Zhao Yunqi's worried face, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled a little. It was just as Xiao Zifen said. Although Zhao Yunqi's temper was a little impulsive, her intentions weren't bad at all. Before today, there had always been a small barrier between her and Zhao Yunqi. She didn't expect that because of Daijimon, the barrier would be erased in anger against a common enemy. Xiao Zifen's face was also worried. You were really too reckless. I heard Daijimon already broke through into the intermediate stage of Mysterious Ian. With that and her experience in Azure Water School, you aren't her opponent. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hands and smiled. Don't worry, I know my own strength. She already knew Daijimon's strength the moment she saw her. Even though she was only in the early stage, her true fighting strength was even stronger than the intermediate stage of Mysterious Ian. That was the source of her confidence. Daijimon only studied in Azure Water School for a year. In her previous life, she walked around all of Jianghu for many years. Jianghu is a community of martial artists in wuxia stories. Literally, means rivers and lakes. No matter if it was cultivation experience or fighting experience, nobody in her generation could match her. She never even put Daijimon in her eyes. She only decided to do this because Daijimon's family was too troublesome. Otherwise, Daijimon would have already died today. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's careless appearance, Xiao Zifen and Zhao Yunqi were flooded with regret. If they had known that it'd be like this, they never would have called Bailey Hongzhuang to take part in the auction. Chapter 190. Because of that, Zhao Yunqi no longer had any more interest in the snakeskin and Daijimon also didn't care about the snakeskin. In the end, to everyone's surprise, Zhao Yunqi got the armor for an incredibly low price. Jimon, you have to be careful when dueling Bailey Hongzhuang tomorrow. Lu Jingquan suddenly spoke. Daijimon raised her eyebrows and didn't care. It's only Bailey Hongzhuang. After I reveal all my power, she won't be my opponent. Lu Jingjun frowned slightly. I don't think Bailey Hongzhuang's that simple. If she was truly that weak, your face wouldn't be like this right now. Hearing his words, Daijimon's face changed, immediately shouting, that was only once, how could she be my opponent? Jimon, this. Lu Jingquan still thought Daijimon should be more careful. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang wanted a duel on the spot, he didn't think that Bailey Hongzhuang was an impulsive person. If she dared to propose a life and death duel, she must have had some kind of confidence in her abilities. But Daijimon was already unwilling to listen and waved her hand in disgust. Don't turn this into a big mess. Don't tell me you think I don't know my own strength. Seeing Daijimon grow angry, Lu Jingquan could only sigh and close his mouth. Maybe Daijimon already thought of a way to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang tomorrow. So, now was her time to spite Bailey Hongzhuang with the ice-chilling sword. Many of the cultivators in the auction also wanted the ice-chilling sword. From the incredibly high starting price alone, the sword's value was obvious. But in the end, the ice-chilling sword still fell into Bailey Hongzhuang's hands. The auction items were presented and sold. Each item was more expensive than the last. As the auction's items got less and less, the air inside the auction grew more and more tense. The auction's finale's value needn't be said. However, almost everyone was still thinking about Bailey Hongzhuang and Dai Jimon's life and death duel. With their minds occupied on something else, the audience's enthusiasm was somewhat lacking. After the last item was sold, everyone started to get up and prepare to leave. In that moment, Su Jin suddenly spoke, attracting the crowd's attention. Just before the auction began, our auction house actually received a new product for our finale. We believed you all would be very interested in it. Su Jin's face had a confident smile. When he found out about the newly added auction item for the finale, he knew that this would be their biggest auction yet. Hearing Su Jin's call, everyone was startled, turning to look at the stage. The auction actually wasn't finished yet. The guests who were about to leave returned to their seats. If it was Tianxiang Auction's finale, its value shouldn't be low. I wonder what sort of treasure it is, capable enough to be added to the auction last minute. Since it was able to become the auction's finale, I don't think the treasure is simple at all. This isn't the first time something like this happened, but this is the first time an item brought in just before the auction became the finale. Everyone was discussing heatedly, their faces all full of curiosity. Zhao Yunxi was also very curious. I wonder what kind of treasure can manage to become the auction's finale even though it was handed in just before it started. Soon after she said those words, Zhao Yunxi and Xiao Zifan were both startled, turning to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. Although they knew Bailey Hongzhuang had brought in something to sell right before the auction started, they didn't know what. Could the treasure actually be Bailey Hongzhuang's? Chapter 191, The Auction's Final. It can't be yours, right? Zhao Yunxi asked. Bailey Hongzhuang faintly smiled and nodded, not hiding it. Yeah, it's my item. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang confirm it, Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunxi were astonished. From the previous auction items, Bailey Hongzhuang's treasure must be incredibly valuable if it could become the auction's final at such short notice. Do you mind if I ask what it is? Xiao Zifan asked. A pill. On the stage, the lady in a red dress placed a silver plate on the auction block in front of Su Jin. Su Jin's smile grew wider and wider. I am sure that everybody must be very curious about the auction's final item, so I won't keep you all in suspense any longer. The final item is something all young cultivators need: bone cleansing pill. For a split second, the auction hall seemed to freeze. It was soon followed by wave after wave of surprise discussions which came like a downpour. The large hall became extraordinarily lively. Bone cleansing pill. Tianxiang's auction actually had a bone cleansing pill. I didn't expect for this auction to give us such a nice surprise. Usually, it's near impossible to buy a bone cleansing pill. If I had known about the bone cleansing pill earlier, I would have come with more money. Not good. I need to hurry and pass the news back to get more gold coins. Right, I need to as well. When Dai Jimon heard the words bone cleansing pill, she was stunned. She never thought Tianxiang auction would give her such a nice surprise. A bone cleansing pill was something all young cultivators yearned for even in their dreams. She was also like that. Not good, I need to get money now. Dai Jimon hurriedly got up. Earlier, she hadn't found anything she wanted in the auction book. Today she only came to watch the fun and didn't bring that much money. Dai Jimon quickly left the auction. Meanwhile, Lu Jingquan's heart was also thumping heavily. Even in Azure Water School, it wasn't easy to get a bone cleansing pill. If he could get the bone cleansing pill here, it'd be perfect. Master, Dai Jimon left the auction. Little Black watched Dai Jimon run under it. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips stretched into a smile. Dai Jimon's only going to get some money. She'll be back soon. But the money she brings back will be useless. Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunxi's faces were filled with shock as they stared at Bailey Hongzhuang. They've long known that Godly Doctor Square was selling pills, but it had always only been immortality pills and detoxification pills. They never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would also have bone cleansing pills. Although bone cleansing pills and immortality pills were both second-grade pills, immortality pills were very common and most pill masters knew how to refine it. So although immortality pills were rare, if one really wanted to get one, it wasn't too hard. Bone cleansing pills were actually very different. Very few pill masters knew how to refine it. In the entire imperial city, only one person was able to refine bone cleansing pills. Yet Bailey Hongzhuang, remarkably, was actually still able to bring out such a pill. Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yinshi glanced at each other. They could never understand how Bailey Hongzhuang was so strange. In accordance to her original identity, she was only the general's household's unfavored daughter. But how could she just be so different? Bailey Hongzhuang watched as the two's faces changed over and over, a small smile still on her face. Even though what she did today really was strange, she no longer cared. Chapter 192. She wasn't Bailey Jintao's daughter and wanted to find her own biological parents. So what if somebody doubted her identity? She hadn't been that same always bullied on Bailey Hongzhuang for a while already. Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yinshi quickly recovered from their shock. Bailey Hongzhuang was their friend, so naturally, they were happy seeing how amazing Bailey Hongzhuang had become. In the VIP box, Shen Yuanhuan's heart was filled with astonishment. Although he already won one in the hunting competition, there were many children in the royal family. Returning home with another bone cleansing pill would be best. This time, we had altogether 3 bone cleansing pills, so to make sure everyone gets a chance, we'll be dividing it into 3 individual auctions. Su Jin's voice echoed in the auction hall, making everyone even more excited about the 3 bone cleansing pills. If there was only one pill, it'd be very difficult for them to get it. But if there were 3, they would have a much better chance. In the first-class seats, Li Chengqian was also excited when he heard about the bone cleansing pills. Earlier today, he was in a bad mood, so he decided to drop by and take a look at the auction. He didn't expect for the auction to give him such a pleasant surprise. Since everyone already knew about what happened with Li Yue's face, the only thing he could do left was to improve her strength. No matter what, the bone cleansing pill must be his. We'll now start the auction for the first bone cleansing pill. Everyone knows how priceless a bone cleansing pill is in the Imperial City, and finding a bone cleansing pill is very, very difficult. So, the bone cleansing pill doesn't have a starting price or a minimum increasements. Everyone may bid as they wish. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed. Su Jin really was great. The starting price in the auction would usually give everyone a rough estimate of its value, so the final selling price normally would not be much higher than the starting price. By not placing a starting price and giving everyone nothing to start with, it'd surely be able to reach a high price. Master, it looks like Tianxiang auction can sell the bone cleansing pills at a really high price today. Little Black said, laughing. Little White slowly nodded. This time wasn't chosen wrong. Everyone in the auction hall really wants the bone cleansing pills. Bailey Hongzhuang only smiled faintly and didn't speak. Tianxiang auction house's skills were better than what she imagined. 10,000 gold coins. A man in the third-class seats suddenly made the first bid. Hearing the price, everyone felt a burst of contempt. Never mind an auction, a bone cleansing pill wouldn't even be that cheap in a store. This guy's starting price was truly shameless. Sensing everyone's disdain, the man also felt somewhat embarrassed. As an ordinary person, 10,000 gold coins was already a lot. However, he had completely forgotten about all the lofty personages in the auction. But a moment after the man bidded, a voice came from a viewing box. 100,000 gold coins. Shen Yuanhuan suddenly opened his mouth, directly raising the price to 100,000 gold coins. Everyone's faces changed. Since the auction started, the Crown Prince hadn't spoken once, so everybody had almost completely forgotten about him. How powerful was a Crown Prince's identity? Nobody dared to offend him, and so for a moment, the auction hall was completely silent. Su Jin was a bit baffled when nobody else made a bid, and could only call out, 100,000 gold coins, going once. 100,000 gold coins, going twice. 100,000 gold coins, going thrice. Congratulations to His Highness, the Crown Prince's winning bid for the bone cleansing pill. The red dress woman walked on the stage, taking silver platter with the bone cleansing pill, and walked towards Shen Yuan Huan's viewing box. Chapter 193. Everyone secretly sighed. The first bone cleansing pill was already taken by His Highness, the Crown Prince. If it wasn't for His Highness's bid, the first bone cleansing pill definitely should have sold for more. Xiao Zifan said, sighing regretfully. This was why pill masters were all practically worshipped in Xingxian continent. Just a single pill they refined was enough to make cultivators go mad. Zhao Yinshi nodded. Once His Highness, the Crown Prince opens his mouth, who else dares to talk? Do you think that His Highness is going to bid for all three? Xiao Zifan muttered to himself for a moment and spoke, he probably won't. Bidding for the second bone cleansing pill starts now. 100,000 gold coins. Hearing 100,000 gold coins again, everyone was momentarily startled. But this time it wasn't Shen Yuan Huan who called, but the Prime Minister, Li Qingqian. Seeing Li Qingqian, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips slowly curved into a shallow smile. This kind of enemies on a narrow road truly was interesting. When everyone saw that His Highness, the Crown Prince still hadn't bid, their hearts all actually felt a bit relieved. Although the Prime Minister was also powerful, far fewer people were afraid of him. 110,000 gold coins. 120,000 gold coins. Seeing everyone fall silent before starting to call out earth-shattering prices, Li Qingqian's face couldn't help but turn a bit ugly. When Dai Jimon returned to the auction hall and found that it was already on the second bone cleansing pill, she immediately joined in on the bidding. 150,000 gold coins. 160,000 gold coins. Li Qingqian bid. 170,000 gold coins. Dai Jimon frowned. The price was already almost twice as much as the first bone cleansing pill. But Li Qingqian was completely determined to win the bone cleansing pill, increasing the price once again without the slightest hesitation. He had partaken in many auctions and had a lot of experience. He knew very well that the third bone cleansing pill would definitely be even more expensive than the second, so no matter what, he needed to get this one. 200,000 gold coins. After hearing Li Qingqian shout his bid, Dai Jimon also gave up. She's heard of Li Yue's current situation and knew why Li Qingqian was so determined to get it. However, she was sure that the third pill would be hers. The second bone cleansing pill was sold to Li Qingqian and the auction for the third one began. 150,000 gold coins. Opening her mouth, Dai Jimon directly raised the price to 150,000 gold coins, forcing many cultivators to give up their plans. Everybody looked at Dai Jimon, their hearts filled with endless regret. Cultivation pills were truly something only the wealthy could afford to bid for. As for the ordinary people only watching, just the price alone was enough for them to look up in shock. Noticing everyone's eyes of admiration, Dai Jimon's face was full of pride. She wants to see who dared to bid against her. But in that moment, a cold voice suddenly called, making the smile on her face falter. 150,001 gold coins. Everyone was flabbergasted. At the very least they all raised the price by 1,000 gold coins, and many even raised it at least 10,000 gold coins. But, did they just hear Bailey Hongzhuang increase it by only a single gold coin? This already couldn't be called bidding. It was just provoking Dai Jimon. Dai Jimon's face was ashen. That damned Bailey Hongzhuang. 160,000 gold coins. 160,001 gold coins. 170,000 gold coins. 170,001 gold coins. No matter what Dai Jimon bid, Bailey Hongzhuang would always bid 1 gold coin higher. Her joking voice clearly told Dai Jimon that she was only playing with her. But Dai Jimon couldn't do anything. Chapter 194. Bailey Hongzhuang, you're going too far. Dai Jimon's voice was furious. This was the first time she ever hated somebody this much in her whole life. Tomorrow, she must kill Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang raised an eyebrow and smiled enchantingly. What do you mean? I was just copying you. Weren't you completely unashamed of doing it earlier? Hearing her words, Dai Jimon's face turned extremely stiff. She actually couldn't answer Bailey Hongzhuang's words. 200,000 gold coins. 200,001. Everyone watched, surprised. Earlier they had thought that Dai Jimon had already gone too far, but they didn't expect for Bailey Hongzhuang to actually bid even more relentlessly. That single gold coin was driving Dai Jimon crazy. 250,000 gold coins. 250,001. Dai Jimon's voice was already very hectic, but Bailey Hongzhuang's voice remained calm and steady. In fact, she didn't need to worry at all. Since the bone cleansing pill was her own item, it didn't matter what price she put, since it'd still be hers in the end. Plus, Tianxiang didn't even charge her the processing fee. She refused to sell the bone cleansing pill to Dai Jimon. 300,000 gold coins. Bailey Hongzhuang made Dai Jimon go mad. She didn't believe that Bailey Hongzhuang would dare to raise the price any higher. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. The price was truly too crazy. 300,000 gold coins for a single bone cleansing pill was the same as the two earlier bone cleansing pills combined. 300,001. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang bid again, everyone was stunned. Bailey Hongzhuang was truly too fierce. Hearing the price, Dai Jimon stared up, her whole body falling limp. Jimon, stop. Bailey Hongzhuang bidded for the bone cleansing pill. This price is already very high for her. Lu Jingquan consoled her. Dai Jimon faintly nodded her head. That was her only comfort. She didn't dare to continue to bid. The price had long gone past her limit. If she bid it again and Bailey Hongzhuang chose to relinquish it, she'd be completely finished. Congratulations to Chen Wangfei for winning the third bone cleansing pill. Su Jun rapped the hammer, declaring the results of the auction. The bone cleansing pill was brought to Bailey Hongzhuang. Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunxi looked at the pill and couldn't help but feel a little bit envious. This was a pill that cultivators yearned for even in their dreams. They didn't bid because they were clear that they didn't have the financial ability to buy it. Seeing the two's eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang took out a white porcelain bottle from the space pouch and handed it to the two. These two bone cleansing pills are my gift to you too. Hearing her words, Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunxi were both startled. Watching Bailey Hongzhuang smile, they didn't recover for a long time. A gift for us? Zhao Yunxi muttered, in a daze. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded, right, a gift for you too. Although she refined 5 bone cleansing pills. 2 were to be sold at the auction, 2 was for Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunxi, and the last one was for herself. After Xiao Zifan finally reacted, he hurriedly refused. This is too precious, I can't accept it. What a joke, a bone cleansing pill was just sold for 200,000 gold coins. Ah! Zhao Yunxi's eyes flashed with pleasant surprise, but when she saw Xiao Zifan, she also immediately refused. Zifan's right, this is too precious. We can't accept it. Bailey Hongzhuang just waved her hand. You two are my friends, so of course you don't need to worry about this. Plus, the bone cleansing pill will definitely help a lot. Especially since you, Zifan, will be taking Azure Water School's entrance test. Don't refuse. Xiao Zifan's heart shook a little. Right, he needed to pass Azure Water School's examination no matter what. In fact, he already knew that he wasn't strong enough. He didn't have very much confidence in passing the test. With this bone cleansing pill, his strength would definitely improve. Even the slightest difference could decide whether he passes or fails. For a moment, he was silent. Xiao Zifan glanced deeply at Bailey Hongzhuang and spoke, "Thank you. If you ever need anything from me in the future, I won't refuse." From what he knew of Bailey Hongzhuang until now, she was always the one helping him. The only thing he ever did was help her when the Hell Wolves attacked. His heart knew clearly that his help had barely done anything for Bailey Hongzhuang, but because of that one night, Bailey Hongzhuang had deemed him her friend. He was ashamed to accept it. He was thankful from the bottom of his heart to be Bailey Hongzhuang's friend. Although he couldn't give Bailey Hongzhuang anything back now, he was sure that he'd be of aid in the future. Seeing Xiao Zifen's firm and determined eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile turned a bit warm. Okay. Zhao Yunxi also spoke up, you guys wait for me. Although this year I don't have a chance to join Azure Water School, next year, I'll definitely work hard and join you too. The three smiled at each other as they left the VIP box. Bailey Hongzhuang took the initiative to go to the treasure inspecting room. Su Hongyuan was already waiting for her. To her surprise, Su Xingchuan was also in the treasure inspecting room. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang come, Su Hongyuan's face exposed a kind smile. Chen Wangfei, you came. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Old Su, shopkeeper Su. Who would have guessed that the one who auctioned the bone cleansing pill was actually Chen Wangfei? Su Xingchuan said smiling. Originally he only admired Bailey Hongzhuang's way of life. After he found out that the bone cleansing pills were actually Bailey Hongzhuang's, he started to value her a bit. Whether it was medical expertise, strength, potential, and background, nothing about Bailey Hongzhuang was simple. In the past, he didn't pay enough attention to Bailey Hongzhuang. Now it seemed that his way of thinking needed to change. The money from the auction's 3 bone cleansing pills have already been placed on your card. No need, I believe in Tianxiang trading commerce. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled sweetly. With Tianxiang Trading Commerce's mass financial resources, it was simply impossible for them to covet such a tiny wealth. If she actually did take a look, it'd truly be too petty. Su Hongyuan's smile deepened. Bailey Hongzhuang was only 15 years old, but her conduct and behavior simply had no flaws at all. Chen Wangfei, this is Tianxiang Trading Commerce's VIP pass. We hope you accept it. Su Xingchuan handed over the black card to Bailey Hongzhuang, the Tianxiang Trading Commerce's VIP card interlinked with the coin card. Su Xingchuan handed over the black card to Bailey Hongzhuang, the Tianxian Chamber of Commerce's VIP coin card. The black gold coin card seemed luxurious, yet subdued. If you took a quick glance at it, you would see that the card wasn't that simple. Bailey Hongzhuang's penetrating eyes were slightly astonished by the color. Even though she took out 3 bone cleansing pills to the auction, it was impossible for it to warrant a VIP card. She knew the Tianxiang auction house's VIP card was a rare item. How could Su Xingchuan give it to her so easily? But since they were giving it to her, she naturally accepted. Chapter 196. The VIP card wasn't light. If you possessed a VIP card, the processing fees and commission would be cut down a lot. Indeed a good item. Then many thanks, shopkeeper Su. After Bailey Hongzhuang left, Su Hongyuan asked, why did you decide to give her a VIP card? Although they did want to form a good relationship with the pill master behind Bailey Hongzhuang, it wasn't enough to warrant a VIP card. Su Xingchuan smiled wisely, that young woman isn't ordinary. In the future, her accomplishments will definitely be shocking. Her expertise in medicine alone is enough to deserve a VIP card. Although there were only a few highly skilled pill masters in Xingxian continent, it wasn't like there was none at all. But there were very few doctors that could compare to Bailey Hongzhuang. Just by this one point, Bailey Hongzhuang already wasn't simple. Su Hongyuan slightly nodded, I also admire that girl. I really wonder how far she'll grow in the future. Bailey Hongzhuang returned to the Qin Palace. Meanwhile, news of Bailey Hongzhuang and Dai Jimon's life and death battle was spreading all over the imperial city. Chen Wangfei and Miss Dai are going to have a life and death duel? Miss Dai's already been cultivating in Azure Water School for a year. I heard that she already reached the intermediate stage of Mysterious Ian, which is 1 stage higher than Chen Wangfei. Chen Wangfei initiated the duel? Isn't that like courting death? I heard that Miss Dai's words were too excessive, so Chen Wangfei challenged her to a battle. So reckless. almost nobody supported Bailey Hongzhuang's duel with Dai Jiman. The gap in strength was simply too big. As everyone knows, challenging someone who's a stage ahead of you was never a simple matter. Almost no cultivators could achieve this. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't care what other people thought, returning to her room to cultivate after eating her evening meal. Looking at the bone-cleansing pill in her hands, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't hesitate to swallow it. The earlier you consumed the pill in cultivation, the better its effects would be. The bone-cleansing pill not only raised affinity towards spirit power, but also improved cultivation speed. But when cultivators in the Hotian boundary broke through to the Xiantian boundary, they would also have to go through a soul cleansing. A soul cleansing's results were similar, but far better than a bone-cleansing pills. It would discharge all impurities in the body and the ordinary, mundane figure would be changed into an immortal's. Their cultivation speed would drastically improve. That was why the early stages of cultivation were so slow. Little Black and Little White guarded outside the door as Bailey Hongzhuang took the bone-cleansing pill. Taking the bone-cleansing pill was extremely painful. The longer you preserved, the more impurities would be discharged, the better the effect. Very quickly, Bailey Hongzhuang sensed waves of pain attacking her as if ants were gnawing on every inch of her body. Her arteries and veins stung in torturous agony. Her beautiful face quickly turned pale, her body curling into fetal position. Pea-sized beads of sweat dripped down her forehead as she bit her lips, enduring the violent pain and not releasing a sound. Time seemed to pass by very slowly. Blue veins protruded from Bailey Hongzhuang's hands as she fisted them in pain. The feeling is truly terrible, even if I'm experiencing this again after rebirth. Bailey Hongzhuang said, speechless. She had also taken the bone-cleansing pill in her past life. Now taking it again, the sensation was truly unforgettable. Little Black and Little White stared at Bailey Hongzhuang, their eyes full of admiration. They knew how painful it was to take the bone-cleansing pill. Many cultivators were unable to endure for long, and in turn, were unable to fully reap the benefits of the pill. Bailey Hongzhuang not only endured it but also didn't even make a single sound of pain.